Hi guys, how are you? And welcome back to the channel. My name is George and today we're going to talk about 6 watches under the $150 mark. As usual, I'll leave all the links in the description box below. I hope I could find all the best prices. Nevertheless, they're still very good and very affordable and I'm sure you'll all like them. If I do miss anything, feel free to leave them in the description box below. But before we get into the rest of the video, if you could click that subscribe button, it really helps the channel. As I'm sure you all know, as I always say it, you all know how YouTube works. Let's jump in it. So the first watch that we have on the list is the Seiko SNK L23. You all know it, it's a legend. The price that I could find it at is $138. Now, it did jump in price a little bit since the last time it was featured on YouTube quite a bit. But let me start by saying that this particular watch doesn't need an introduction. The reason why I have it on the list and the reason why I have it at the first one on the list is because it punches way above its weight. And I'm not telling you anything you don't know about it already. The finishing on the case in combination with the dial and the proportions make this a must-have in everyone's collection. And it does feature the usual Seiko 5 specs and dimensions, the 7s26 movement that doesn't hack or hand wind, the 38mm case and the 18mm lug width. But it makes it easy to swap straps, and it's can be worn as a dress watch, and it can easily be worn as a casual daily watch because the 18mm lug width makes it very easy to swap straps. Number 2. Now, I have 2 watches on the second spot and sort of second position, as you like to, however you like to call it, because they're not a particularly desirable brand, but nevertheless very, very good solid specs. And I think they're really, really good watches. And it is the Cadisen 8097 or the Naxxon SL7002G. And the Cadisen comes at $119 and the Naxxon is $103. These two would be the odd ones on the list because they don't have the desirable brand name, like I said. But the reason why I have them both on the list is because they do feature the high beat Japanese movement, the Miyoto 9015. And this movement has a smooth sweeping hand and the 8 ticks per second, as I'm sure you all know, the 2800 vibrations per hour. Both watches have well balanced proportions, so they both feature the 40mm diameter and the diameter case and the 20mm lug width. And they both come in sapphire crystals, which are very, very, very good. The thing is, I feature the Naxxon as well because the Cadisen, I don't think it suits to everybody's taste because it has that little diamond on the 12 o'clock position. So that's why the Naxxon would be a more unique and more dressier and more simpler choice. But nevertheless, I think they're really, really good watches and I think you should consider them. Watch number 3 is the Hind Pilot. This comes at $129. I have this on the list just to have a little diversity, and also I think it's the only automatic pilot's watch with these specs: sapphire crystal, screw down crown, 100-meter water resistance, Seiko NH35 movement, bucket loads of lume, and it's the only automatic watch with these specs under the $150 mark that I know of. I have a 6.3-inch wrist and it wears nice and compact. It has a lug to lug distance of 46 millimeters. It's a Type A Flieger and the dial is very, very legible, and it only comes on a leather strap. It has a sapphire crystal, like I said, and it's a slightly domed sapphire crystal with a tiny bit of air coating. The only downside to it is that it has a 19mm lug width, which makes changing straps not that fun. And the distance between the lugs and the case, the tip of the lugs and the case is relatively small, and you can't put it on a NATO strap. Nevertheless, I think it's a cracking watch, and all these things you'll be willing to overlook as soon as you get it. And I think that the specs make it a very, very desirable watch, especially to deserve this his spot on the list. Watch number 4 is the Orient Mako 2. Managed to find this at its lowest at $119, and I think if you go on eBay or if you manage to find it secondhand, you can probably find it cheaper than that. Had to have a diver on the list, and this particular watch was the Seiko SKX's main contender. The difference right now in price between these two is huge. This, like I said, comes at $119, and the Seiko SKX, if you can find one, not secondhand, brand new, whoever still has it, because it is discontinued, is over $300. So I wouldn't think it's worth it. Anyway, the watch is not as iconic. The Orient Mako is not as iconic as the SKX, but it's cracking value for money. It features an in-house movement which hacks and hand winds, as opposed to the SKX, which had a 7S26. It doesn't hack or hand wind. It has a stated water resistance of 200 meters, as opposed to the SKX, which is a certified diver, but still you're still getting the 200 meter water resistance. It has a 41.5 millimeter diameter dial, has a 22 millimeter lug width, but it's still nice and compact because it has a 46 millimeter lug to lug. So even people with small wrists can pull it off. Nevertheless, it has a Hardlex crystal covering the dial. I think the specs and the fact that you're still getting all that much that bang for buck, and it's $119. So for instance, if I convert that to euros, which is more convenient for me, it would be close to around 100 euros. And for something with that that set of specs is unbelievable. And like I said, you had to have a diver on the list. And again, Orient, it deserves its place on any list. Watch number 5. It's the Orient Bambino 2nd generation version 3. And I managed to find this at $100 top, so on the head. I think for many watch collectors, or for many people that have started collecting watches, this was actually the best dressed watch to have under the $100 or for around that price. You're getting, again, a lot of watch for your money. It's an Orient, so it has a lot of history behind it. Again, in-house movement that hacks and hand winds with around 40 hours of power reserve. Gorgeous looking dials. There's a few to choose from. For whichever way you decide to go for, you know, there's good choices there, good options to make. Some of the drawbacks has a Hardlex crystal covering the dial, and it's domed, and you will inevitably scratch it. I am wearing actually my Orient Bambino right now, and I haven't managed to scratch it because I didn't wear it that much, but nevertheless, this one has a 41 millimeter case. It has a 21 millimeter lug width, and it's again another drawback, which you're not, you know, you will change straps because the strap that comes on is not the best. At the same time, AliExpress, there's a lot of straps for with the 21 millimeter width, and I wouldn't spend that much money on a strap. $10–15, you could still get something really decent, especially from AliExpress. It's a good watch, it's a good piece. Again, for whatever dial you decide to go for, you won't go wrong with it. Fair play to you guys for sticking to it so far. We're to the last one. So watch number 6 is the Citizen NH8350, which comes at $103. Again, like most watches on the list, it's another dress watch, but this one is all about the dial and that elegant case. It features a Miyota 8200 series. It's still a decent movement. It's nice and robust, and the thing is, it hand winds, but it doesn't hack. Between the two, I think I would have the hand winding. I can do without the hacking. I would have the hand winding. And the dial is off-white, which has a lovely pattern to it that gives it a nice depth and plays with the light very well. Good proportions, 40 millimeter dial, 20 millimeter lug width, and it's 11.5 millimeter thick. And it suits smaller wrists as well. It's within that dress watch proportions, and because it's very thin, it will slip under the cuff of a shirt very well. That was it, guys. Those are my 6 watches, 6/7 with the 2 watches on the second spot there. These were in no particular order. If you made it so far, I really appreciate it. And again, if I did miss anything, please feel free to leave it in the comment section below. These were just 6 watches that I liked on the $150 mark. Again, thank you very much. Click like, subscribe. Thank you for sticking around. Be safe, and I'll see you guys in the next one. See ya.